Good morning, Marilyn. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm just going to help you with Marlyne.
Marlyne, oh my, no, wait a second here. This is why we have a spelling problem in this country. Oh my God. How do you get Marlyne out of that?
No. Well, I'm French.
Oh.
So the name is, but if I was American with an American heritage, you would say Marilyn. I agree with you.
Wow. See, now I've learned something. This is why I love talking with people, sharing conversations about the reality of where we are, because we have this gigantic picture of who we think you are as Maggie, but when you step into Marlyne's shoes, what is that like? I mean, because my wife is always telling me, don't be an actor around me. Don't be an actor. Be yourself. Do you have to go through that stuff too?
Well, I think that I don't necessarily think about it. I do know when I step into work, I'm putting on a different coat. I do, and it's a strange coat because the coat is kind of put on from the inside out. Mm-hmm. So I do think of it like that. But my regular conversation would have a lot more French in it. I'm a lot more French than I am English speaking, I would say.
Yeah. The French accent. Then where does that come from? Then I mean, because I'm hearing pure 100% American right now.
Yeah, I know. Because I mean, you start. I don't know. I've always been bilingual.
Yeah.
But my first language, c'était le français.
Oh, nice.
Et quand je parle français, tu n'entends pas mon anglais du tout. T'entends que le français, et puis la plupart du temps, je communique en français. So most of the time I communicate in French, and when I switch, I think you do so much work as an artist that eventually certain accents start disappearing.
Yep. Yeah.
But I think when I first arrived in the U.S. after studying abroad for a long time, my English, it sounded more like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I got to tell you that I look at Maggie on Chicago Med as being an NFL team head coach, because I mean she's in charge and she knows that she has to look at not only her players but how they affect other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's what a charge is, right? A charge nurse is the Tom Brady of the game.
Yep.
She has to be able to receive and throw the ball to the right person. You would think he's the doctor in charge of the ED, but the truth is the cases are given by the charge nurse, and she will check in if it's a complex case. So I would say that the GM is Dr. Archer, and she's the head coach. Mm-hmm. And when she has to check in with the GM, it's mainly to galvanize the expertise behind the GM.
Yeah. And isn't it odd
often?
Isn't it odd that most people don't realize that the medical world is a business? I mean, we always see it as, okay, I've got to go there, they're going to fix me, but we don't. And I think that's the reason why I'm connected to Chicago Med, because what I can learn from this show, business-wise, helps me as a real person.
Yes. I think that's what Dick Wolf does so well.
Yes.
He portrayed that too. When you look at FBI and you look at Law and Order, he shows you the systems machine behind the justice system, the system machine behind the national weight of the FBI, the system machine behind the medical institution has very much an effect on the medical care that a person can receive.
Wow.
So I think that's what's so genius about the writing. When you think about how medical technology is moving forward, how the storytelling constantly evolves with the actual input of all the various practices that come to influence the medical practices that you as a regular person get to go into.
Yeah.
So I have to say that when I speak to people who are able to say, well, they were talking about this, and a family member went through something similar, and I was able to find out more information about that. I'm really proud of what we're doing in situations like that.
Yeah.
Because we get to inform people in their immediate needs, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I can so relate with that because, I mean, to this day, after my heart attack, it was back in 2009, the way that team was very calm with me, kept me calm, and they were giving me answers. It wasn't that I was going, okay, I'm worried, I'm wondering what's going on here. They were so professional. And maybe that's my connection to this show on NBC is the fact that it's like you have so much drama and things around you, but yet there's calm. There's solutions being found.
Yes. I can't stand when I say before I start speaking. And I just did it, and that threw me off. And I wanted to say, you said you were going to stop doing that, Marlyne. So that was my little artistic moment for you. You know, training while we are doing the show has been a practice that we consistently put before the work. So outside of the medical rehearsals, when you look at Dr. Charles, you look at Goodwin, we're all people that are in touch with the current runnings of hospitals. We constantly put one foot forward towards the current practices, communicating with experts that are immediately in the field, shadowing people in actual hospitals. We have medical consultants that work in the field and would come between surgeries, between their days of work, to come and inform us. When we get our scripts, the research that is done is beyond words. So we're far-fetched from the telenovela, the romantic comedy. That's not what we are. If there is a romantic relationship, it's between us and the audience, bringing as relevant information as possible.
What I love about this show is the fact that NBC has created Peacock, and there are many times where my wife and I will get in a conversation about Chicago Med, and it'll be like, no, that's not what really happened. No, we got to go back and we got to watch it again. And so I love the way that streaming has really helped us go back, whereas in the past, we would have to wait until there was a repeat, probably during the summer months.
The entire series is currently being watched at my house. So I am at home. We are on we're ending season 3. And I'm in season 9.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I have become a fan of the show. So back in the day, I would watch when the show was airing.
Yes.
And streaming has given me an opportunity to distance myself from what was done 9 years ago, 6 years ago, and put an emotional distance from my performances to the point where I can watch it now as an audience member and still see myself and not see the work I put into it. Because I'm so distant from it, I forgot how the episode ended. I forgot how we put that episode together, because I'm the notorious fan that if I see how you bake the goods, I don't want to actually eat it. I can't do that. But now it's so far removed from when I actually shot it. I'm able to watch it as an audience member. And the other day I was watching the beginning of mid-season 3, when Natalie's son was caught in the park while it was a tragedy that happened, and she was looking for her son, and then she fell into Dr. Halstead's arms, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that moment. And man, it was so good. So good.
Yeah.
So, and with the departure of Dr. Halstead last season, it just brought everything back, how many years we were together shooting those shows. It was special. So streaming provides that in a very special way. So I enjoy Peacock.
You got to love that feeling, though, of when you have that moment where you realize that what you were part of is timeless. Because I can go back to a podcast that I did 12 years ago and go, wow, that still fits into what was going on today. And it's like, but right. In that moment, I didn't realize it. It was just something that I was doing right now. It was my expectation for the day.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's what it is with medical professional shows, you know? If it's done right.
Yes.
When you're talking about a heart attack, when you're talking about a heart attack in 2002 and you're talking about a heart attack today, you're talking about a heart attack.
Yeah.
If you're talking about surgery, you're talking about surgery. Getting cut today is you're hoping that it can be done in a different way than it was before. You know, they won't have to use a scalpel, that now they can do a surgery with a robot on you. Yeah. And you're hoping that, wow, did this hospital hire a 2.0 that can do my surgery? Hopefully it behaves better than the one on Chicago Med. You know, so I think that the advancement that is showcased on the show provides for a timelessness for people. And I think that's what people are looking for when they are watching shows like that. I remember my parents learning how to speak English on ER. So then when watching this show, it just reconnects them with the truth of what great television can do.
What is it with our connection with medical dramas? To me, I always say it's because I grew up watching Marcus Welby.
Or Quincy.
Exactly. Every Sunday night, Quincy, you're right.
Yeah. My parents used to talk about Quincy. So my parents, when they came to the U.S., gathered all these VHS tapes of some of the best shows. And because my parents raised a lot of medical professionals, we watched a lot of medical dramas. And I remember my mother being in love with Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, that one.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember my parents introducing Denzel in, I think it's Chicago Hope.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. I remember, Jerry Orbach in the early Law and Orders. So I think our love with the medical shows comes from the fact that we're living human beings that are eventually going to meet some kind of conversation with health. And we're looking for people to educate us without having to go to medical school or nursing school.
Wow. How is it that you're able to humanize every character that you play? Because I know when I go in and do voice work in a studio, they draw the picture for me. They'll go, who are you talking with? What is her name? How many kids does she have? What is it that she does in her everyday world? Do you go through the same thing?
Yes, I have to understand the three-dimensional approach of the person's life before I can portray them on screen.
Yep.
Because they are all living beings. I don't care how dark the person is. I don't care how positive the person approaches life. The reason behind every construct in decision making. And I think that's why it's so important to have this, I want to say grace when I say it, which is you don't always understand people's stories. So I think understanding the story spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, educationally, parentally, like all the formulas that bring a person together is something that I dive into a lot. And not just when I'm doing the preparation, I continuously do it. And I think Maggie, that's what it is. You know, people ask me, how can you play that character for so long? I said, well, I'm not playing the character. I'm actually living a life through this character.
Yep.
So, and the layers that she is adding onto her life redefine who she is every single episode.
How do you step back into the real world? Because, even as a radio host, it's like I have to have some defrag time where I have to kind of put my thoughts back together. Now I'll take my step out into the real world.
I transition in my transportation. I have Marlyne things that I do that are not Maggie things. So It's kind of like an Inception. Remember that little gadget that Leo used to bring him back into reality?
Mm-hmm.
I think all artists have that, the barometers that take us back to, this is why I do it. These are the people in my real life, and I need to become better at shaking it off. So over the course of years, I think I just become better at transitioning and not take it home, not take it to the family.
One of the things I find fascinating about you is the fact that, being on that live stage versus being behind that camera. And one of the things that I did in 2020 was I didn't know who my listener was anymore. So I went and got a job at a grocery store because I wanted to know who my community was. How do you deal with that, going from a live audience to being with a set audience?
Somewhere in the early 2000s, I had this moment when I shot this movie called Heist with David Mamet. And I had this incredible experience where I had to shoot the rain scene. So early on in career. And I sat next to David Mamet, and I was greeted. This was in Montreal. I was greeted by a man walking across the park. And the man walked across the park to come and greet me. And it's like time stood still, because as the person got closer and closer, I said, holy crap, is that Gene Hackman?
No. Oh my God.
And I said to myself, just act normal. Until I realized, as I bananaed, trying to give him space to keep on moving forward, he bananaed too. And I went, oh, holy mackerel, I think he's coming to me. And then I walked over and he said, you must be Stephanie, played in Page, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, I am. And I remember when David said to me, what can I do for you? I know that we have several days before we shoot the rest of your scenes. And I said, I'd love to be able to come on set and just glean, just stay there and just watch. At the time it was Sam Rockwell, then it was Danny DeVito,
wow,
Delroy Lindo, Gene Hackman. It was a cast of crazy, incredible people. And I just wanted to watch. And at school, we were studying David Mamet. And I remember thinking, studying David Mamet when I could be with David Mamet? How about I just take the discipline afterwards? And I was disciplined and a half when I returned to school. But I had this moment when I sat down next to Gene Hackman. And I said, okay, I have a question for you. And it will sound like a multi-layered question, but I want you to answer it with the most simplicity. And he said, okay, what's the question? I said, what would be your greatest takeaway with everything that you have learned in this industry? And he said, remember never to take it so seriously that you forget that you're just a human being portraying life.
Yep.
And that is the greatest truth to what I do. I love meeting the person at the grocery store. Yeah. I will consistently go to my same grocer just to meet that person. Yeah. I love going to the butcher.
Yep.
I'm meeting that butcher consistently and getting to know him, getting to know his wife, getting to know the grandchild that got birth. I love going to the gym and meeting the person behind the counter that has just been promoted to assistant manager. I love meeting the healthcare professional. I love meeting people in their everyday life. And I have learned over the course of my life to value the moments that they value versus valuing the moment that they think is important, which is meeting the person on Chicago Med. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But why do I get a pleasure of meeting you? Mm-hmm. So that's why I fly with the same airlines. I do a rotation of things that keep me grounded, that keep me about the appreciation of the fact that miraculously, out of all the people that I went to school with, out of all the actors that I've worked with and I'm working, I think is a miracle, to be honest, because I've met a lot of talented people that I said to myself, yo, I can't do that. Whoa. And I'm working, so I'm very grateful about that.
Wow. Marlyne, you got to come back to this show anytime in the future. I love your depth. I love everything about your heart. Please come back anytime in the future.
Thank you so much for that.
Will you be brilliant today?
Thank you. I will. God willing, I will. Thank you.